Dije que sí, estamos convencidos que el bebé fue abusado por un periodo de tiempo, o sea, tiene 7 meses, o sea, sobre su vida de 7 meses, que fue abusado sobre tiempo.
Precisamente ese bebé, Emmanuel Haro, desapareció en extrañas circunstancias. Sus padres lloraban en público suplicando por su regreso, pero ahora son ellos los presuntos asesinos. Hoy les tengo los detalles de este caso estremecedor en esta nueva edición.
Esto es Eni con Más, con Eni Pichardo.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a Eni con Más. Antes de entrar en detalles, le pido su ayuda para que mis informes lleguen a más personas. Por favor, no olvide hacer clic en el icono de me gusta, compartir este video, suscribirse a este canal y activar la campanita para recibir todas las notificaciones de mis informes. El pasado 14 de agosto, Emmanuel Haro, de solo 7 meses de nacido, fue reportado como desaparecido en el condado de Riverside, California. La fiscalía de ese condado anunció cargos de asesinato en primer grado contra sus padres, Jake Haro, de 32 años, y su esposa Rebecca, de 41, quienes también enfrentan cargos por reporte falso a la policía. Ambos permanecen detenidos con una fianza de $1 millón cada uno. Según un informe reciente, Jake Haro confesó haber matado a su hijo y haber abandonado el cuerpo en un bote de basura. Los investigadores lograron obtener la confesión mediante un infiltrado en la cárcel. Las autoridades indicaron que Emmanuel murió tras un prolongado abuso físico por parte de sus padres. Inicialmente, Rebecca había asegurado que un hombre desconocido la atacó mientras le cambiaba su pañal en un estacionamiento. Las inconsistencias en sus relatos llevaron a la detención de ambos. Desde la cárcel, Jake cambió su versión, alegando que accidentalmente asfixió al bebé mientras dormía y enterró el cuerpo cerca de una autopista. Jake Haro tiene un historial criminal preocupante, 2 condenas por maltrato infantil grave en 2018 y 2023. En uno de esos casos, dejó a su hija de un matrimonio anterior con lesiones permanentes, incluyendo fracturas de cráneo y hemorragia cerebral, pero no cumplió tiempo en prisión. Solo se le ordenó participar en un programa de tratamiento para abusadores. En su historial también tiene arresto por posesión indebida de arma de fuego en 2024 mientras estaba bajo libertad condicional, además de informe de violencia doméstica por parte de su ex esposa en 2024. Este historial añade contexto legal y emocional al caso, mostrando la gravedad de los cargos que enfrentan ambos padres. Los Haro tenían programada la comparecencia en el tribunal el martes para la lectura de los cargos, pero esta se pospuso para el 4 de septiembre. Aunque serán acusados de asesinato, las autoridades aún no han localizado el cuerpo de Emmanuel, pero dicen que tienen pistas sobre su posible ubicación. Escuchemos las palabras del fiscal distrital del condado Riverside, Mike Hestrin.
Obviously, you all know, yesterday in court we filed murder charges on both Jake and Rebecca Haro. We also filed the filing of a false police report. And with that, I will take questions. I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I do want to lay some ground rules. The way we do it here is don't shout at me, no chaos, just raise your hand. I ask you to ask me one question at a time. I'll do my best to call on everybody. When we've gotten through everyone who has a question, then we can go back and ask more follow-ups, okay? So I'll start here on the front row. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, first of all, do you have any idea where baby Emmanuel is at this point?
You know, yes, we have a pretty strong indication of where the remains of baby Emmanuel are. So that investigation is ongoing at this time. Yes, go ahead.
Matt Johnson, Court TV. What was the information that led to the initial search off the 60 in Moreno Valley?
Sheriff, you want to take that?
I'm not going to go into grave detail about that, but there is some level of cooperation with the suspects involved in this, and we're trying to locate that, and our job is to follow every lead. But for the rest of the room here, we have to understand what you're dealing with is an experienced child abuser that is aware of a previous case, that is aware of evidentiary things that we are certainly concerned with. So we're going to take every step to not only work with any suspect or witness involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have to bring a case to Mike and they have to charge it, and we have to make sure that every single thing, no matter what is told to us or what we discover in terms of evidence, is the right thing, and that we followed up extensively.
Okay, who's next? I'll go to you first and then to you. Go ahead.
Gigi Gracia with Fox 11 News. Do you believe you know how baby Emmanuel died or was killed, and is there anything you can share?
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, a victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries. That's what we believe. Yes, sir.
Eddie with Action Eye News. I noticed on the arrest records and booking records that they do have Jake Haro as murder with malice and also another murder charge as well. Is there a second murderer, or can you explain why there's two
We-
on that booking?
We charged both Jake and Rebecca with murder. Who's next? Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
This is in reference to what Chad was talking about, but can you go into some detail about that case in 2023 and what happened there?
Sure.
And from my understanding, it's a suspended sentence.
Yes, I will. So in 2018, Jake Haro with his ex-wife, there's another child who they were prosecuted for child abuse as well, child neglect, cruelty. That child was also an infant, and that came to the courts, arrested in 2018. It came in to the courts in 2023. We had charged various felony crimes, child abuse, child cruelty, and our indication or what we wanted out of the case was prison. We believed it was a prison case and that Jake Haro should have gone to prison. Jake Haro pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong, and you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head, meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison. My prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object, we think it's a prison case, you should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service. I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work. The judge had obviously meant well. At the end of their sentence, he told Jake, I'm giving you a big break today, don't mess it up. But I want to point something out to you. I want to read to you the injuries. The child's name is Carolina. She is still alive today, but she is permanently bedridden. She has permanent damage, cerebral palsy, that is a result of long-term child abuse. I want to read to you the injuries that were presented in court to this judge at the time of that previous prosecution. Acute fracture of the posterior left rib, fifth rib, healing fractures of the posterior lateral 6th, 7th, and 10th through 12th ribs, healing fractures of the 6th and 9th through 12th ribs, partial bone fracture of the skull, brain hemorrhage, significant prevertebral soft tissue swelling of the neck, and a healing tibia fracture of the right leg. This is severe abuse for an infant. And so whatever you think of the criminal justice system and people need a break, someone who does that to a child belongs in prison, period.
Y la policía buscó el cuerpo del bebé cerca de una autopista en Moreno Valley, en presencia de Jake Haro, vestido con uniforme carcelario. El sheriff aclaró que su presencia no implicaba colaboración en la investigación. Escuchemos.
To Mike's point, I want to thank all of you in the media for covering this, specifically the parents' initial statements to the public while we were trying to find Emmanuel. They became critical as we continued through this investigation. But I want to talk about a little bit about the process because we've seen a number of questions related to Amber Alerts and things like that. So I hope when I finish this that everybody understand kind of the course of the investigation. But the investigation started for us on August 14th when Rebecca Haro reported that her son had been kidnapped. Folks, within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement. And as a result of that, there was no other vehicle to put out on an Amber Alert or anything. And I know many of you were wondering why that didn't occur. But really, after finding out those inconsistencies in the statement on the initial report, that's where hundreds of hours of investigations have come in by our Specialized Investigations Division to try to get to the bottom of what's really going on here. And when I say hundreds of hours, I'm talking about forensic data on vehicles, phones, and potential crime scenes, judicial authorized search warrants that were served. And through that process, that's where we learned that the jurisdiction of where this has occurred was in Riverside County. So hence the Riverside County DA and Riverside County Sheriff's Department, which I can't stress enough. We've had a long-term partnership. We work well together, and we know how to get things done in these environments. But that's why the jurisdiction had changed from the original jurisdiction that was reported in, which is Yucaipa, California. But as we went through that portion of the investigation and realized that these things had happened in Riverside County, you saw the culmination of all the different entities get involved. And going back to what Mike mentioned about the DA's office in San Bernardino County and high-tech crimes, forensically, there are a number of things that we were able to prove up that we're not going to be able to share today exactly how we did that, but there is a tremendous amount of evidence that suggests that the initial story posed was not the correct story. So in that partnership with our agencies, I'm going to introduce my partner, Chad Bianco, where this crossover occurred at Riverside, and we reached out to Mike, who's obviously filing the case, and of course Chad to assist us in the investigation. Chad?
There is absolutely nothing, no crime more important than the injury of a human being, particularly a child. And the amount of resources that were expended to find this baby and to ultimately bring the people to justice responsible for the loss of this baby, I can't even tell you the amount of resources that were expended in this. It is a massive investigation that will obviously be ongoing, and we appreciate your efforts. This involves a lot of things, though, from us, and hopefully there are more questions to be answered, but I'll end it by saying this before we get into more questions specifically about this case. This was preventable in numerous ways. The amount of response we have had from the public, the enormous anger that a child was not only originally thought to be kidnapped, but then presumably murdered, kind of warms my heart a little bit. That there is compassion still out there. There is care about other people. There is, people actually do care about other people. There is absolutely nothing worse than harming a baby. Broken bones, injuries, life-altering trauma. And had that case been successfully handled how it should have been, Emmanuel would still be with us today. So I thank you all for taking the time and the effort to make sure that the world sees this investigation, and we will successfully bring it to conclusion with the help of both DA's offices.
Y a pesar de todo, Rebecca Haro sigue defendiendo a su esposo, asegurando que lo único que quiere es salir a buscar a su hijo. Como les indiqué, ambos fueron acusados de asesinato y si son hallados culpables, podrían recibir la pena de muerte o ser condenados a cadena perpetua sin posibilidad de libertad condicional. Este caso sigue siendo uno de los más impactantes y tristes que hemos cubierto. Un bebé de 7 meses desaparecido, padres acusados de asesinato y un misterio que aún no tiene respuestas claras. Y ahora me gustaría saber su opinión. Con la confesión del padre, ¿cree usted que este caso revela fallas en el sistema de protección infantil? Déjeme su respuesta en los comentarios y recuerde compartir este video para que más personas estén informadas sobre este caso y también dejen su opinión. Eso es todo por hoy, agradeciéndole su tiempo y su confianza, invitándolo a que haga clic en el icono de me gusta y a que se suscriba a este canal en YouTube. Yo soy Eni Pichardo y esto es Eni con más, un breve informativo, siempre con la verdad.